Welcome to another episode of The Identity Navigator. What do you trust more, your group chat or your payroll provider? Trick questions. You shouldn't have to think about it. And yet, when it comes to data privacy and consent, your encrypted memes might be safer than your paycheck. Messaging apps have redefined digital trust. They have raised the baseline expectations for security: zero visibility, full control, and instant revocation. That is the gold standard users now subconsciously expect everywhere. Except, ironically, in the systems that hold their most sensitive data. So, today on the Identity Navigator, we are going beyond identity management. We are unpacking digital power dynamics. Who holds your data? Who can act on your behalf? And what consent should actually mean in the architecture of systems we use every day. So, we are looking into who really owns your consent, from messaging apps to payroll systems. Now, lately, there has been a shift from privacy policy to privacy architecture. Privacy used to be a promise: we won't share your data. Now it's becoming an architecture. We never had access to it in the first place. Now that is a profound shift, and it is shaping everything from encryption standards to decentralized identity protocols. Think about the modern design baseline. Signal doesn't know who you are messaging, right? WhatsApp encrypts everything by default. Apple doesn't see your health metrics or your Face ID template. Auth apps like Duo and Okta Verify won't act without your biometric or device level consent. That is not just good engineering, that is philosophy baked into protocol design. It's a word view. The user is the owner, the company is the enabler, and consent is continuous, not contractual. Now let's contrast that with what happens in payroll, payment, and compliance workflows. The system that literally defines your financial and legal identity. Now, where does this privacy breaks? Where is enterprise integrations and inherited trust come into picture? Imagine this. You work at our favorite company, Acme Corp. They use Gusto for payroll. Tax seasons roll around and your W2 magically appears in TurboTax. Convenient, right? But under the hood, your assassin, income, deductions, and filing statuses were shared across multiple platforms. There was no re-consent, no biometric check, and no notification. The transaction acted on your behalf, not with your participation. That is inherited trust and it is invisible. Convenient. So we have created a digital economy where your credentials, tokens, and identifiers circulate between systems with minimal friction, but also minimum visibility. We are told it's for integration, but in practice, it is about control. Once you hand over a credential, you rarely get it back. When you store a card with Netflix or connect one to AWS, you are not just giving them payment info, you are authorizing perpetual action. The merchant can charge, retry, and even adjust amounts without any meaningful reauthentication. The system assumes consent is infinite. Netflix have my credit card for I don't know many years now. They have revised their fees and I don't know what I pay right now, but it's just convenient for me because that gets deducted on a set day every month. That is the silent failure mode of convenience, a word optimized for recurring revenue, not recurring consent. And this is the privacy paradox: security without sovereignty. If messaging apps work like billing systems, you would never use them. Imagine sending a message to a friend and your chat provider can read it archive it, and resend it years later because you agreed once in 2016. Unthinkable, right? But that is how financial and compliance systems operate every day today. So the question isn't, can we make them secure? It's, can we make them sovereign? Right now, data security is often a vault problem. Encrypt everything, store it safely. But according to me, data sovereignty is a control plane problem. Decide who can act, when, and under what conditions. That is the difference between encryption and authorization, between trust and true control. So, how do we reimagine payments as identity assertions? What if recurring billing worked like modern authentication? Instead of giving Netflix your card, you would approve a scoped, revocable payment contract. Authorize Netflix to charge $15 per month until cancelled. This contract wouldn't live in Netflix system, it would live in your digital wallet, governed by your identity provider or your bank. Each month, Netflix would submit a signed request. Your wallet would silently validate it, and only if it matches the approved scope of the amount and schedule does it proceed. If Netflix raises the price or shifts the date, you would get a prompt, just like a step up authentication. Now we have transformed the model from store and charge to request and validate. It's consent based, credential free, and revocable in real time. And that is how you make financial systems behave like identity systems. But it's not a complicated or a tough problem to solve. And why do I say that is not trying to minimize the engineering that goes behind it, but because the building blocks already exist. This isn't sci fi. The components are already out there. Apple Pay and Google Pay, tokenized, device based credentials, no merchant ever sees your card, or open banking in EU or UK, where payments require explicit user authorization and time bound scopes. Even OAuth 2.0 and OIDC or OpenID Connect proven consent models for access delegation, not payment yet, but the pattern is solid. And even smart contracts, like in the case of Ethereum, programmable, self executing payment logic, the purest form of scoped consent. Now, what is missing is a common trust layer, a unifying framework where payment authority is treated like an identity assertion, not a stored secret, where authorization is the currency, not the card. So then, how do you design the next generation of consent systems? So let's push this further. What would a next generation payment consent system actually require? So let's look into five core design principles. Biometric consent at creation, because identity must anchor authorization. Scoped permission, who, how much, and how often. Revocation at any time through a single pane of control. Behavioral triggers. Reprompt if dormant, suspicious, or anomalous. And last is transparency dashboards. Monthly, who has access to what summaries. And this use case can actually go beyond subscriptions. Annual tax integration. Reauthorize once a year with clear data boundaries. Usage based cloud billing. Define spend thresholds with smart alerts. Payroll disbursements authorize downstream flows via your wallet, not your employees' HRIS. That's privacy engineering as a business enabler, where user trust reduces risk, improves compliance, and builds long term loyalty. So many of the CX team have got it wrong when they think about customer friction. And that needs to change. It needs to evolve, not just because of some identity enthusiast said it or a privacy uh, engineer asked for it. It has to be built into CX teams' way of thinking that this is a required friction. This is not even friction in most cases. So this risk model shift, what would it look like, or what's the difference would be between today's model and future model? So in today, where we stored cards and credentials, in future we will store consents and policies. Today, where data breaches exposes card data, in future model there won't be any card data to to be exposed, because and then there would be nothing to steal because all you are storing is consents and policies. In today's model, you have forgotten subscription drain wallets. And I'll talk more about it. Hopefully, that is why you get so many of the first month free and then give me your credit card, right? If the first month is free, why don't you ask me for my credit card at the end of the first month? This is because forgotten subscription is a genuine business revenue stream for some of these businesses. But in future model, this would be auto expiration or reauthorization prompts. In today's model, there would be consent buried in terms of services or TOS. And in future, we will have consent visible, granular, and revocable. And last but not the least, in this risk model flip, we have in today's model, we have trust assumed, and in future model, we will have trust continuously revalidated. So when you move from storing data to storing consent, you don't just improve privacy, you redefine accountability. Trust stops being a static checkbox and becomes a dynamic system signal. It's verified, auditable, and most importantly, user driven. So, in closing, the question isn't whether we can build a privacy first payment ecosystem. The question is whether we are ready to challenge the convenience first mindset that says just store the card, it's easier. Messaging app raised the bar. Identity systems are catching up. It's time for financial systems to follow, to make consent the default, not the afterthought. Thank you for listening and for taking this journey with me. I'm very eager to hear what are your thoughts around it. You can reach out to me via LinkedIn or send me an email. Both of these info I'll put in the show notes. Until next time, this is Rohit, your identity navigator.